Hello learners, I am teacher Jonathan and welcome to EasyElimu Learning Simplified. In our today's mathematics for grade 4, we'll be working on time. And to start with, when do you tell time? How can you tell time? These are my questions and join me as we embark on how to read and tell time in AM and PM. In our previous class, learners, we learned how to differentiate different times of the day. And today, we were differentiating the times of the day using either 15 minutes past, 30 minutes to, or quarter past, and so on. But today, we'll go into details. And for a start, I would like to pose a question for you. So in pairs, kindly, when does a day start? When does a night start too? I have these two questions. When does a night start or a day start? So you can brainstorm, when does a day start? When does a night start? Bearing in mind that a day has 24 good hours. A whole day has 24 good hours, day and night. So when does day start and when does night start? Now, Victoria, you can answer us. A day starts at midnight. Midnight is when a day starts. And the day still, it ends at midnight. But the night time or the daytime periods of the day ends at 12 p.m. while night starts at 12 p.m. But before we continue, I would like us to remind ourselves how we used this clock face. How did we use this clock face? Remember, for example, it had a short end and a long end. A short end and a long end. The short end was used to tell hours, while the shorter end is used to tell minutes. So, for example, now it's 12:30. It is 12:30 or 30 minutes past 12. Are we together there? Now, we have said a day starts at midnight and it ends at midnight. But a day is divided into two parts or into two different divisions. We have the daytime and the nighttime. And the daytime, it's when we have the day begins, 12 hours after day begins, and then 12 hours after. Now where the day has ended, we call that time then evening time or the night time. So join me and let us observe this one. Now, we have said a day starts at midnight. We have said a day starts at midnight. So from midnight all the way to midnight, we have 24 good hours. We have 24 good hours. From midnight all the way to midnight, we have 24 good hours. That is the reason why I have said a day is made up of 24 good hours. Now, in these 24 good hours, we have daytime and we have the night time. So, from midnight, remember, there is still dark, it is still dark. This is noon time. From this time, it is the 12 midnight. After that, we go to 1 midnight, 2 midnight, 3 midnight, 4 midnight, 5 past midnight, then 6 in the morning. 6 in the morning. So these are night hours. Past midnight, this was 12 midnight. Then we start with 1 past midnight, all the way. 6 is 6 a.m. in the morning. 6 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. 6 is when we prepare ourselves to go to school. 7, 8, 9, 10, until midday. Midday marks where the day is at the middle. 12 hours after midnight, we call it midday. 12 hours after midnight, we call it midday. Then after midday, we go again 12 hours all the way to midnight. I want you to understand this. From where the day has begun, there is still dark until 6. We have dark hours here. Though we call this is a part of midday, from the midnight all the way to midday, we have some light here, but there are some hours of darkness. The same case, to the midnight, there are hours of light, but there are hours from 6 all the way again of dark. Now, 12 hours before midday, or from midnight to midday, we call that time AM. I'll write that one for you to understand. I've said this. From midnight to midday, we call this one AM. What does AM mean? It means, or it stands for antimeridiem. Antimeridiem. What does antimeridiem stands for? It is time after night. So it is during the daytime. So antimeridian starts, I'm saying this, from midnight all the way to midday, we call it AM. AM stands for let me use a different color, kindly. It stands for antimeridian. Antimeridian, this is before midday. It's time before midday. Time before midday. Time before midday. This is the time we call antimeridian. That is AM. From midnight all the way to midday. This is the antimeridian. Time before midday. And then we have from midday to midnight, we call it PM. We call it PM. And PM stands for post meridian. Post meridian simply is time past midday. Time past midday. Time past midday or after. Time after. Let me use this one. After midday. This is a better word to use. Time after midday. We call it post meridian. Now learners, AM, antimeridian, or before midday. After midnight, before midday, we call it AM, antimeridian, and after midday to midnight, we call it post meridian. After midday. Those are main words that we will be working with as we go on with how to tell time and how to read time. We'll be using now AM and PM. AM simply to mean or to stand for time before midday, and PM simply to stand for time after midday. Now, in our groups, learners, I will pause this question. Remember, I've said we have 2 cycles. The first cycle, it is this one, from midnight to midday, that we have called it AM. And the next cycle is from midday after midnight, that we have called it PM. Those are the 2 main cycles that you should put in mind. Now, I ask you a question, learners. The time we come to school in the morning, is that time AM or PM? John, it is AM because it is in the morning. It is before midday. We come to school before midday. So that time we call it AM. And you, Victoria, the time we go home from school, is that time AM or PM? This time is PM because it is time after midday. We go to school in the evening time after midday. So that time we call it PM. So learners, these are the two main terminologies or words we'll be using, AM and PM, when we are telling time. Time before midday and time after midday. Now, let us come back to our clock face. Now, we've said we come to school early in the morning. So now, this is the time in the morning. Time in the morning, after and. Remember, the short and points at hour, while the long and is for the minute. Now, in the morning, this is which time? Who can tell this time is which one? In the morning time, we have 9 and 6. This is 30. So 9:30. It is telling us it is 9:30. Now, I've said it's in the morning. So it is 9:30 in the morning. Is it AM or PM? Yes, Victor, it is AM because it is in the morning. So it is AM. It is 9 AM. That is very correct. And to you, Tom, this is one. It looks like that. The short and is to the 1 and the long and is at 9. Remember, you learned to and past after. Now, this is just some few minutes to 1 during the daytime, almost to the lunchtime. Some few minutes to the lunchtime, 15 minutes to 1 during the daytime. So is it AM or PM? Victor? Oh, it was for Tom. Tom, remind us. This is PM. We say now it's 15 minutes to 1, or it is 12:45 PM because it is already past midday. It is already past midday. Learners, I have another question. Wangari, this one is for you. The short and. We have that one. The short and is pointing 3 and the long and is pointing 12. And this is time. We are almost going home from school. So what time is this? Yes, Wangari, this is PM. It is 3:00 PM because we are almost going home. We don't go home during the morning hours, but towards the evening, past midday or after midday. So this is 3:00 PM. This is how we tell. Remember, we have said we have 12 hours after midnight to midday. We call them AM. And we also have other 12 hours from midday to the midnight. We call them PM. And I've said AM is antemeridian, time before midday, and PM is postmeridian, time after midday. Learners, this is what we have for today. Now, in our groups, I have one more to tell. And this one goes to John. John, what time is now? Remember, we are almost going to our assembly. We have already gone to our assembly on a Friday, going to our assembly in the morning. Now, John, is this time 8:00 AM or PM? Because we are going to assembly. It is what time? It is 8:00 AM because it is before midday. So this is 8 AM. That is very correct. Now, can we try this one? Write whether it is AM or PM. Whether it is AM or it is PM. Now, 2 hours after midday. 2 hours after midday. 2 hours after midday. 2 hours after midday. Midday. Is this AM or PM? We are telling whether it is AM or PM. That is our task number 1. We are telling whether it is AM or PM. 2 hours after midday. Is it AM or PM? Just write that. AM. If the answer is not AM, write the correct answer. Now, 1 hour before midday. 1 hour before midday. Is it AM or PM? Is it AM or PM? You are writing whether AM or PM. Remember, we are writing here, it is what time? AM or PM. And the last one, the last question, 1 hour before midnight. 1 hour before midnight. Is it AM or PM? The last one, number 3, it's 1 hour before midnight. Is it AM or PM? You are writing that either AM or PM. Learners, this marks the end of our lesson. But remember to do more practice on this when you go home. Ask your parents and your guardians to help you understand more on AM and PM. Using either the clock face or even this one, or even the watch, the wrist watch. It can help you get or understand the time better. In the morning, that is AM before midday, and past midday or after midday. Let us meet again for the next lesson. Bye-bye.